how's that open Zoom room thing going? Did that last long?
Yeah, we actually did one yesterday. We haven't done one today because everybody's just kind of
In meetings, yeah. Sorry.
in meetings all day. And then,
How do you decide who hosts it? Does that go around, or is it always the same person?
well, I mean, so like I hopped on and I saw like a handful of guys or we're on a call and assuming that they were all together. And so I'm like, hey, what you guys doing? And they're like, just talking through some of these details. I'm like, need any help? Do you need, yeah, you can join in and listen if you want. I'm like, sure. And so that join in and listen ended up just being like an open call where we just did the same thing. And then the other people joined in and then, other people like, hey, we got a question. Are you available? Sure. And then we invite more people. And,
Yeah.
oh, I meant to tell you this. So the team meeting on Monday morning. We always have Monday morning team meetings where we kind of go through like the roster of everything. Hey, what's going on? Who's doing what? Because we're at this point right now where we just did our permit submission, and now what we're trying to do is just kind of like, and some people are going to be falling off the project, going on to different projects and things like that. Where basically now I want them to use this week for the rest of January. Can you believe that? The rest of January is literally this week.
Yep. I know. My mom's birthday is on the 29th at the end of the month, and I'm like, that's in 2 days. Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
Jeez.
And so I said, hey, I want you guys to like use OneNote and go through and populate, this post 122 submission outstanding items, some things that had not been picked up or being moved over. And then there's just a bunch of things. And people are just making sure that, they've got everything's kind of covered and somebody knows what's being done or not done and what needs to be done and those kind of things.
Right.
And just before the Monday morning meeting, I started like frantically Zoom chatting like everybody on the team except for one person. And I'm sending them the background screenshot that I took when we were recording last time. And so I was like, you have to use your camera today. And they're like, I don't normally use my camera. I'm like, no. Today you have to use your camera. And so everybody is, like logging on. And then, the one guy who we screenshot his house, he's sitting there and he's not paying attention. And then he like looks over at the screen and he's like, and he starts like getting really close to the screen. He's like, come on, man. And then another person would pop on. He goes, not you. And then like
The gift
everybody
that just
was,
keeps on
oh
giving.
yeah. So we had, I think like 9 people. There was only one person who was invited to the meeting that isn't normally there, that didn't have it. But everybody else was on the screen in his dining room.
That's
And
awesome.
he's just like, so it was great. I mean, we spent probably the first half of the time talking about, because you could see like the refrigerator in the background and stuff, and it's just like, hey Matt, can you go into Angela's refrigerator and see if he's got anything? All right, man, I'm on it.
What would it be? Yeah, it would just, you've seen those ones where people will like make a video their background. I guess I don't know if that's just a feature you can do in Zoom or if it's a hack or whatever, but they would like film their own background and they would walk into the room and like bring a mug of something and set it down on the desk and then walk away.
Yeah.
And then they would use that as their background. They'd be sitting there and they'd be like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's great." And it was themselves delivering the coffee to themselves. It was great stuff. I love how creative people can be with this.
Oh yeah, I mean early on, and now everybody, I don't know, maybe it's the fatigue, but now everybody just seems to like, I'm not going to turn my camera on today. I mean, it was quite a chore to like ask people to like have the camera. It's like, it's Monday morning. Why would you want me to turn my camera on? Like, well,
show up to work, people. Come on.
Yeah.
We work together. I want to see you.
Very. I'm gonna get every noise possible today.
That works. Yep.
Yeah.
No big deal. This is not a professional endeavor here, Cormac. Flying by the seat of our pants. This is actually normal. I was on a call the other day with somebody I'd never met, and they're like, their 6-year-old walks by, and they're like showing him something, like, look what I made, He's like, cool, man, that's great. He's like, I'm on a call, so everybody's always apologizing. It's like, nope, this is normal. This is how it is now. You got school, you got toys, you got chores, you got animals, all the stuff.
Yeah.
A real peek behind the curtain.
Yeah. So now we're at the stage of our project where people are going to be leaving the project.
Mm,
People are like, "Hey, I just want to know. I mean, am I still working on this project, or what should I be doing right now?"
mm,
We've got a lot of things coming online. We've got a couple of things, like other stuff. I mean, because we're borrowing people from other studios, and we have a handful of folks from the DC studio that needed to find some time, and thankfully we had some time for them,
yeah.
and they worked out beautifully for us. But unfortunately, they're all going to be like migrating to their projects, and we're going to try to like hold on to the core of the team that's been here forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems to be highly unlikely now because I just got notified that some people are moving to a project that we got going on at Vanderbilt. That some people are going, and then it's just I don't know how people like have been migrating back and forth between projects, or like what's been going on in your office to kind of just keep people like working.
Yeah. 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 Definitely like during downtime when there's an apparent amount of downtime and that always fluctuates, right? So working in digital practice, we get people all the time who are like, "Hey, do you have anything I can do while I'm waiting for my next project to start?"
Yeah,
And because those schedules never line up perfectly, right? So it's obvious that happens all the time. And the worst thing is when people say, "Yeah, I can give you X amount of my time, 30, 50, 90, 100% of my time for 2 weeks." And then 3 days later, they get pulled off to do something else. And it's like, that is the worst. It happens all the time and it sucks and it's stupid. It's like, stop doing that, people. Don't commit to me with your fingers crossed under the table. Like, that's not really you're not gonna follow through. That's not cool. I'm gonna take all the time to plan out something to keep you busy, to help you out, and ultimately the firm. And then you're just gonna go back and or go do something else like right after you committed. That sucks. So
right.
we've done a lot to kind of fight against that. And like, I mean, basically we're at the point where it's like we have to write a contract with these studio leaders to be like, no, once you give them to us, they are ours for the set amount of time for that percentage. Because that's gone back so many times. But then there's other things where it's just like, okay, we've got all these training courses, or we've got these special projects that we have where we can take people on like at certain intervals, not just whenever you want, but at certain intervals, because we have to do onboarding and stuff. Like for instance, we did this whole Revit family upgrade project, and the families need to be gone through. Man, there's a bunch of trash in those families, and they need to be cleaned up. They need to be re-standardized. They need to be redeployed to people. And so we actually had a group of people that stayed with us for quite a bit of time while they had downtime and made a huge difference. And that was fantastic. So it's projects like that that we can help the firm kind of absorb those hours that people aren't being fully utilized on and be beneficial to the overall operation of the company.
I love that. That sounds great. I mean, I wish that that's interesting. We should have used that.
It's a lot of work though, man.
It
figuring out what the procedure is going to be like. What are they doing on the day to day? How often are the check-ins? How does accountability work? Like, we definitely had people who just never showed up and never did anything, and we're still writing down the hours on their time card. And so then we're like, we have to be proactive in policing that and go to the managing principal or the studio leader or the project manager or whoever it is that they're a supervisor and say, "Hey, just heads up, here's what's happening. Can you please check in on this?" Because honestly, sometimes it could be everybody's got stuff going on in their life that we can't see, right? And sometimes that stuff is terrible stuff. Like, again, we just can't see it. And so we don't know. And so we give them the benefit of the doubt, but we also need that layer of accountability there, because some people do just, they play the system, right? They're like, well, these people think I'm spending hours here and these people think I'm spending hours here, and they're out, playing golf. I don't know what they're doing, but hopefully that's not the case. We give everybody the benefit of the doubt at least the first time, and then go from there. But yeah, it's good to have kind of some of those projects queued up so that, and again, like, you can't just onboard anybody anytime, because it is work, and there's a procedure that we had to put in place to make sure that this stuff happened. And we had tracking in place for families, like how many families are in the queue, how many have been completed, how many have been rejected, like et cetera, right? And we had each one of those people be accountable to check off where they were in the process on a daily basis. So we knew how many they had in their bucket, how many they had processed. And there's some people who are just amazing. They're super high performers, can't say enough good things. And there's other ones who are just like, they would get 2 done in the same time somebody else got 10 done. And it was like, okay, like we're figuring this out. Who can do this, who can't do this. So that if this comes up again, we'll either be able to say, yeah, we'll take that person. They are amazing. Or no, they're not a good fit for this project, But that's all like the weird stuff that has to go on in large firms, especially when projects are just kind of all over the place with starting up and stopping and holding and uncertainty and budgets and all that kind of stuff, which seems to be now,
more important than ever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you guys have anything like that, or do you just kind of, hey, what do you have for me for 6 hours today?
Sometimes a little of both.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, there's always projects that could use people for the time. I mean, a lot of times if I'm only going to get like, let's call it a transient help, I will say, hey, I've got all these red lines. A lot of these are things that, can be picked up and cleaned up that you don't really need to know the backstory of the project.
You just need the skill on how to do it. Yeah,
exactly.
Those are good.
And so I always have a backlog of those, when I'm doing some redlining, because a lot of times, if I'll do like these big whole project or whole set red line, not everybody's going to be getting to them if they're working on like their own little compartmentalized things. And then at the end, then they kind of come in and say, okay, a lot of times it might be checked off. It's just like I redlined it during a transitional period or something like that. It's always good to kind of like have that. I'm like, hey, I know you're only going to be on this project for a week. Work on these, and if you get into something where you either see the work has already been done, go ahead and highlight it. Virtual highlight it, but highlight it, and then in others, go ahead and maybe take a look at or reach out to this person. They're working on it. They may be working on that. So don't do anything that undoes some work that somebody else is doing.
Communicate, people. Communicate.
Yeah.
Do you guys use any kind of tools to track that, like Bluebeam sessions or anything? You mentioned OneNote earlier to make sure people kind of all know what everybody's doing and what needs to get done.
So I run 2 things. I typically run a Bluebeam session, and then we just use OneNote so that we can kind of track any open items, like we also do some scheduling and stuff in there, kind of links back and forth with Outlook, so that if, we do task assignments for, say, consultants, or we need to set up meetings and stuff with the owner, we're able to kind of like use like all the different tools. The only thing that I made one mistake one time of is inviting consultants into a kind of a big, massive Bluebeam session where me and some of the other QC people had bled all over our drawings, but then had kind of like this weird little dialogue of like, do you really mean to do it this way and stuff? And I'm like, you guys, nobody needs to see the way that the sausage is made in this one, kind of let's taper down our comments to just being like, this needs to be changed to this.
Right.
And it didn't happen, and it just kept going on and on and on. And I'm just like, all right, like everybody else is seeing some like, potentially level of dysfunction, which it really wasn't. I mean, there were good conversations. It was just, there was other avenues of having that conversation other than an extraordinarily public locale. And so I was just like, all right, forget it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to win this one.
Isn't that interesting, right? Because it seems like there's being more and more of a push toward open, transparent communication between teams, and not having everybody work in one place, right? Especially now where everything's on BIM 360, et cetera, and there's shared documents and all kinds of, Bluebeam sessions and so many potential places to put the information. And obviously there's companies like Autodesk and whatever that want all of your information in their system so that they can mine it for other things. I mean, honestly, right? They're trying to make it so that software can make smarter decisions for you later in the future. Can't do that without training the machine on how to do that with the information that you're putting in there. So I'm not trying to say it's all a bad thing, although it could be used for negative things.
Right.
I mean, obviously, just them having all of your data is a potential risk for you because it's not easy to get it back out of there.
Right.
But it is interesting to kind of think about how the difference between a comment and a communication, right? Because there is kind of this internal dialogue that needs to happen. That, like you said, is the sausage getting made, and not everybody needs to be privy to that. Versus stuff that is more like FYI or what should we do here? We're looking for direction, and then relying on everybody to kind of keep that gate in the front of their brain every time they're doing something is like a cognitive load that makes things more complicated. And
right.
that's tough. I mean, and there's so many places where information can go now. Does it go in an email? Does it go in a file transfer? Does it go in a Zoom call? Does it go in a chat? Does it go in the Bluebeam chat? Does it go in the BIM 360 chat? Like, where does it go? And then how do you resurface all that stuff later if necessary and put that puzzle together to tell the story that needs to be told should it come to that, right? If it's legal or if it's something else. There's just so many data silos to dig through. And to me, that is like one of the biggest problems is the software companies are not making this easier. They're making it harder. And new tools are coming out all the time, which are further diluting this, right? And okay, now we're looking at TeamFlow for having these, open office and what data goes there now, right? And who decides. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's a great new tool that's solving a real problem. At the same time, it's also diluting where our information goes, right? So it's a tough landscape to navigate for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's really hard to track sometimes too. It's like, hey, I messaged you, or I sent you an email, or I put that in Bluebeam, or I put that in OneNote, or I put that in or and it's just like, my gosh, I mean, I spend half my day trying to find where exactly it is the questions that people are asking me.
Yeah. I just recently learned of a new tool. I'm gonna have to look up because I can't remember the name of it. So maybe we don't include this in the recording. But it started with a C. You could actually. John was on the call, the LFRT call the other day. He probably saw it, but it was like this layer of search that you could apply to all of your data, and it uses AI to kind of surface stuff. So I think what's interesting about these kind of new approaches is that it's like, go ahead, just declare bankruptcy. Like, you don't know where your stuff is, and you never are. Just give me a tool that helps me find it when I need to find it based on a really great search capability. Yeah. Because like IT directors don't know what to do. They already let the dam break, and they can't control where people put stuff. They can't ensure that it gets back to where it's supposed to go because our projects are already completely aligned around cutting corners, right? Spend less time on that, could you? So if you spend less time on stuff and you cut more corners, there is no guarantee that information is going to get back to where it needs to go in the archive when the project's done. And it probably won't, right? So it's interesting now to see these solutions coming out that are like, yep, we get it. It's never going to happen. So here's another layer of stuff that you can pay for on top of all the other things you're already paying for just to find the stuff when you need to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, what a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. You said bankrupt. I'm like, I think I'm going mentally bankrupt trying to find all of this stuff that, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it in the past. Declare bankruptcy on your email, right? There's 82,000 messages in your email. Yep, nuke it. If it's important, email me back.
Yeah, but how many times I get it's like, well, I sent you that, a couple of weeks ago. I'm like,
did you?
Okay. Did you
really?
So here's the funny thing. So there are certain people, I think I've already said this before, but there are certain people that I will, like, they are the priority people that I look for their emails and make sure that, whenever their emails come in, I, give them the special attention. Then there's like the second tier people. And then there's the, couldn't this have just been a Zoom chat or a, You know,
Mm-hmm,
where it,
mm-hmm.
where in the reverse, when we're always saying, couldn't this have just been an email? I'm saying, couldn't this just been, like IMing me real quick and saying, hey, what do you
Right.
think about this? Instead of sending in, that. However, everybody seems to want to have it's kind of this mental CYA that everybody has. It's just like, okay, so if I tell Evan that this is what's going on, if something happens, I'll say, well, I told Evan.
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
mm-hmm.
if it didn't happen, it's on him because I told him. And you're just like, really? That's the way we're going to do this now. That's how our communications are totally about CYA.
Yeah.
And then you'll I don't know if you ever pay attention to those when people email you and they deem it, if they deem it really important email,
Mm-hmm.
they'll start CCing the higher ups within their own company to make
Oh,
sure that
totally.
one, they know
Accountability. Yeah.
exactly,
The accountability
exactly.
CC. Yeah.
See, I'm working on this project.
Right. Right. Look at me. Look what I just did. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
those are. Yeah, I get why people do that. And at the same time, every time I see one of those, I'm like, that's annoying because I follow through on stuff.
Right.
So you should not be doing that. Like you're opening up for a bad thing. Yeah, that's bad. I don't like that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're showing me your distrust.
Exactly.
Please.
Just like, and it's like, if we talk about it, I will, if it's something that is priority for me to do, it'll be written down, one way, shape, or form. Or, that's one of the things that I'm like, look, if something needs to be done and it's something that you need help with, that's why I want to track it through Bluebeam.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Bluebeam, but OneNote.
Mm-hmm.
OneNote, I've come to trust. I'm like, you got a little checkbox on there. You can, instead of doing like a little bullet point, you can put a little checkbox, and it's just like, okay, somebody needs to look at this detail, and then we'll put on, and then from that you can assign somebody a task to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can even put it through with your Outlook where it actually has reminders, and it has, it like prioritizes things on like, what's done and what's in works and all of this other stuff and who's doing it. And so there's a lot of different ways to like have that accountability and that, kind of check to make sure somebody's doing it. And not all the time does somebody remember, hey, let me go back to OneNote and check it. But, if they've got that, like that badgering email that says, you've been assigned this, they'll get to the point where they're so annoyed with the email that they will do something about it.
Yeah. Totally.
I hate that that's the way that we have to do things.
The
but
nagging email. Yeah.
exactly.
Promised.
Exactly.
Or you've been assigned. You didn't
And
necessarily accept this assignment, but it has been assigned to you.
right. And you know about it. That's one of the things that I just got to make sure of. It's just like people talk about things. So, I need somebody to do this, or I need somebody to do that. I'm like, saying that somebody needs to do it and assigning somebody to do it are two completely
Those are
different things.
completely different things. Absolutely.
You have got to make sure that find the right person to do it.
Oh my gosh.
And
So many
get them
people forget that part. And they're just
Yeah.
like, and then 2 weeks later, hey, I thought somebody else was going to do that.
right. I told
Well,
Evan.
did somebody else know about it? I don't think so.
Evan was in the room when I said that somebody
Right.
needed to do it. He may not have realized that
Right.
he was that someone, but he was.
Your name is someone now.
Exactly.
Yeah.